And he came up to me in a ballroom once and he said, "Uncle, you're my dad's classmate." And I said, "Oh, okay, hello." And I introduced myself. And he goes, "Yeah, my dad said that you're the guy that lives his dreams." And I'm like, whoa, people noticed, like somebody noticed, right? Because sometimes you're just doing your own thing. Like, I don't think of myself as, okay, I'm living my dreams. I don't think of that. But what I do is I actually just make lists of things that I want to accomplish. And then I go out and cross them off one by one. And actually, when the pandemic happened, I ran out of goals. I had to think up some goals, right? But I did start teaching during the pandemic online, and I hadn't done that before. I taught in person for years. For 37 years, I taught in person. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Jay. Good morning. So, and I had taught in person for years. But here's the thing, right? When you focus on your dreams, okay? In other words, make a list, okay? So you make one list of everything you've always dreamed of, and then make a list of the things you're doing now and slowly replace, replace, replace. Okay, but you need to put things on paper. Why is it important to put things on paper? It's important to put things on paper so that it goes into your subconscious. Okay, because it's just not your conscious mind, but you want it in your subconscious as a belief. Okay, so I always, on my social media, I always put life is short, live your dreams. Okay, because you can live your dreams if that's all you focus on. Okay, what's not a part of your dream, you can leave out. Now, here's the important caveat part, right? Everybody goes, okay, well, give me the gold nuggets here, okay? Well, you see, I always focused on it in adult life because when I was young, my mentor, who mentored me from the time I was 13, told me, he said, you can have, do, or be anything. And I said, really? I said, can I live my dreams? Like, can I, pursue my dreams? He goes, of course, you can live your dreams, but you have to take it step by step and work at it. And I'm like, okay. So that's all I've ever done. I just live my dreams. So, the first thing he told me, right, because these people were going to sign me to a contract when I was 17 years old. They were waiting until I made 18. They were going to sign me to a contract. He goes, we sat down at his swimming pool and he said, you can do this one of two ways. You can sign the contract, you can work for them, you can go into debt with them, and you can, basically be famous and pay off all this debt, right? And it looks good on the surface, but in the back here, you're in debt and you owe them for the rest of your whatever, till you pay it off kind of thing, right? He said for the rest of your adult life. And or you can work hard on it and focus on your dreams and only your dreams and live every single one of your dreams. Now, to me, that didn't sound good. Why? Because it was convenient to sign with the label, which was my dream. That was my dream. And I said, wait a minute, that was my dream though. My dream was to sign a contract and get, discovered, right? And you're talking about a 17-year-old kid at the time, you know. But then he said, well, think about it. You can go and sign with them when you're 18. You're an adult, you're legal, okay? You're of legal age. Or you can put in the work and do it slowly. Okay, so guess what, right? So there's a ton of people that signed with that record company that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be a part of that family that in Hawaii we say ohana. I wanted to be a part of that. Okay. Now, most of the guys that got to be a part of that, the majority of them had like one or two albums. Okay. A small number of them, very few, became what I would call famous or well-known, that kind of thing, right? And they had a few albums, 3 or 4 albums. If you go on iTunes and you put my name into iTunes, you'll see I have 9 albums. Okay, so now You remember that list I'm talking about, like where you have one against the other? So now you write pros and cons. Okay. Did I have a record company behind me? No. Okay. Did I have to produce all my own stuff? Yeah. I had to build a record company, and I built one. I built a record label. It's called AFM Hawaii Music. You can look it up. It's online. It's a thing. It's there. Okay, we haven't produced. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Please share the live, you guys. Go ahead, share the live. Good morning. Good morning. I Cooper. Good morning. Suzanne. Good morning. Hi, guys. And so I didn't get the record contract with the record company, but I have 9 albums produced and online for sale and streaming. It's mostly streaming now. Okay. So was my mentor right? Yes, he was right. Was I obligated to the record company? No, I never got the chance. The doors closed, shut. Okay. All right. And I went through tons of discrimination. I went through tons of belittlement. I went through tons of, like, okay, all right, let's push him out, stuff like that, right? Did it bother me? Yeah, of course it does. I'm human. It bothered me. But guess what else didn't happen? I didn't have to go to rehab. I didn't become a drug addict. Okay? I didn't become a celebrity out here and a poor person back here. Okay? In other words, what I'm saying is, I used to work with this guy on radio, and he used to always tell me, and I don't know if it was in relation to him or what it is. I don't know. He never told me. But all he said was, there's nothing worse than being famous and being broke. At the same time, he was talking about that. And I don't know whether he was talking about him or who he was talking about, or he was talking about other celebrities that he knew. But at one time, he told me that this girl in Hawaii that had all these hit songs was sleeping on his couch in his rental. And I was like, wow, that's sad. I mean, in my heart, I felt that, and I felt for her, and I know other people, I have relatives that actually went through the recording industry like I wanted to, but never got to, right? But here's the thing, that was God's blessing. God was saying, no, you go over here, right? So whether you want to call that the superconscious, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it higher self, whether you want to call it Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call that, source, you want to call it universe, okay? But that energy knows what's right for you. And that energy is in here. And that energy works with your core values. Your core values, okay? Whatever you believe to be true in your subconscious, God works with that. So that's why they say God knows your heart. Okay, God knows your subconscious. Did I want to be produced? Yeah. Did I want to, be on all the TV specials and all this kind of stuff that they do, and you do all these tours and go all around the world playing music and stuff? Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. That would have been a lot of fun. But what's the other side of it? Well, according to the people that I talked to that have, been a part of it, it was just a lot of work. They didn't look at it as, and I identified with that too when I did my Waikiki show. I financed it myself. We borrowed 2 shows. One from my attorney, one from my manager. Paid both back real quick. Okay. But we financed it ourselves because it was our dream. Okay? Because the circle that I was around, right? All these people all, worked against me, and all the doors shut on purpose. Because the people that I was working with turned everybody against me. Why? Well, there was a lot to, there's a lot of reasons. I had my own companies. I had more than one company. At the time, I had 3 companies. And then I created the 4th company the same year that I went to Waikiki. So I had 4 companies actually. Actually, no, I had 3 companies, and one was because I did Waikiki in January of 2010. So it was right after that I started VMAC Consultants. And then that made it worse. That made it worse. But you see, I didn't need those people. I didn't need the gatekeepers. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need the gatekeepers. I'm not here to flex and, tell you what I did. Okay? As much as I'm here to tell you that you don't need it. Okay? Your life path in here is from God. Okay? And if you think you need someone out there in the physical world in order to succeed in life or in order to do the things you want to do and live your dreams, it's not true at all. Now, if you're in a corporation, there's a hierarchy, right? And there's a hierarchy that you have to follow. Okay, you have a boss, and he has a boss, and he has a vice president, and he has a CEO, and like that, right? So maybe in order to climb that corporate ladder, you have to do what you have to do and play the politics and things like that. Okay? But you can quit the corporation. You can quit that corporate structure. You don't have to be a part of it. And you can still thrive. And you can still attract what it is that you want to do, what you want to have, be, or do. Every once in a while, because I forget. Because we're human beings, we forget. We live in the moment, right? So sometimes I have to put my name in a browser to remind myself of, because I forgot all the things I did. There were so many. But those were all my dreams. Those were the things I dreamed of when I was 12 years old, sitting by myself, meditating on these thoughts. Now, was it meditation? No. It was me sitting in a valley, closing my eyes, imagining myself on a stage, imagining myself making people laugh, imagining myself doing the things that I'm doing in my adult life. I retired from all of that in 2019. And you know what? God in here, okay, because the kingdom is within, okay? God in here probably gave me that idea at the right time, because in 2020, right, pandemic happened. So what I'm trying to tell you is, when you focus on in here, when you focus on the kingdom, right, seek first the kingdom and everything will be added unto you. And I'm talking about everything. When you go in here, and if you're stubborn enough to hang on to that idea, whatever the idea is for you, that idea becomes the center point if you fix that idea solid like that. And what happens? Your timeline corresponds to you, because you are your own universe. Your brain assimilates data. That data forms your perception. That perception brings out your life path like this. How you perceive the world. The superconscious acts upon whatever is in your subconscious and starts opening the doors as you take the steps. Now, there's 2 ways to take steps. One is mentally, okay? You can think it. Thinking is action. You can take the physical steps. How things are now and how you want them to be. Because you know what? I focused only on my dreams. So as I was focused only on my dreams, life was tough. Life was tough, And I went to college. I went to college for a year. I dropped out of college because there was nothing in accordance with my dreams in college. Now there is. Now there's music administration. Now there's recording studios. You can go to college and take engineering, stuff like that, stuff that I do. Okay. But at the time, there was nothing like that in college. So I quit. I stayed in college for a year, got some straight A's in writing, quit college. Done. And I quit college because I got a job offer to be the production director at 3 radio stations. And I'm like, whoa, that's my dream. So I went back on course, back to the dream, left college alone. You need college for certain things, okay? If you want to be a doctor, a pharmacist, an attorney, whatever, banker, whatever, okay? So there's things for that. There was nothing for my dreams in college. Not one thing. Funny thing is, though, when I left college and I went back into my dream, right? Because I did that 1 year where I stayed out of my dream, stayed in college. When I went back to my dream, YouTube came out.
Is so much more fulfilling and rewarding and beneficial than college education.
This is because you pursue, okay, this is your profession, this is what you came for, this is what we're going to give you, and you have to dedicate your time to this because they will have this consume all of your time, as it should be, to make you proficient in whatever this is for you. Okay, Rock Painting Mama, good morning. Hi guys, hey George.
Okay.
For whatever it is you're interested in or whatever your dream is. There was a lot of things online for my dream. But my dream was mostly creative things. Okay, that's the right hemisphere of your brain. Now, taking back to, things that I always say on my lives, right? The journey of Moses, for example, is the migration from the left brain to the right brain. That's the esoteric knowledge, the esoteric wisdom. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. Jesus said, he told the apostles, cast your net to the right side. It's talking about the right hemisphere of the brain. That's where imagination lives. That's where creativity lives. That's where Jesus sits. Okay? Intuitive guidance, intuitive wisdom, intuitive instruction, divine guidance, all of those things on the right. Why is that important? Well, Elon Musk, I just saw the report this morning. He is on track to be the first trillionaire. He uses a lot of left brain. But innovation is part of the creative side. Okay? When you're an innovator, when you change the world through your inventions, through your creations, it's all about accessing the right side of the right hemisphere of your brain, the right side. It's about casting your net to the right side. Why? Because now you receive divine guidance. Now you're paying attention to spirit. Whatever you call this in here. Okay, you're not your body, you're not your name. You're that energy that lives in here. Okay, you want to call this energy, you want to call this spirit, but that's what it is. And there's a separation between the body and the spirit. Why? Well, because this is just physical. This helps the spirit. And without this, you would not be anchored into this physical reality. Your spirit would go, and it will go when this gets too old. Okay, one day I won't be able to play my guitar anymore. It's kind of funny because I use my guitar for healing now rather than entertaining people. You know, I guess that was the path that I've been guided down. Okay? But when you understand that everything in the universe is energy, when you understand that you can affect other energies from within here, when you find out you can speak things into existence. Oh, uncle, how do you do that? Right? You do it through your subconscious. Okay. Yeah. You can place a spell upon yourself. Right? What do negative spells sound like? I can't do that. Oh, that's too hard for me. I can't do that. Okay. You can say, I don't want to do that. But when you start saying things like, I can't do that, when you start placing limits, you're relying on God. To the right. Why? Because that's where imagine that you know. Okay, so come from I do not know. And I would sit there and I go, well, how does this work? I do it like this. And I can't tell you how many people like that. People that have degrees, college degrees, and own large companies tell me, oh, that's not the way it works. You can't do it like that. And I'm like, really? And they say, no, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. And I'm like, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. And I'm like, okay. Is choose. Choose. Okay. Commit to a decision. Okay, we're going to do that. I'm going to go snap to you like this. Okay? But slowly, it happens slowly. It goes like this, depending on what it is. Now, if this thing is huge, okay, then it's going to take some time. If you keep changing the manifestation of the way God works. Why? Because God is in here. Who created technology? People. So the inside comes out and now it's displayed out here. You see? Think about that. So what happens to the GPS? Well, if you look at a GPS like it's God thinking, and you put the address in it, right? It goes, okay, here. And it lays out the path. But most of the time, the majority of the time, if you're in your town, you know a shortcut, right? And you take the shortcut because you know it's faster. Because the GPS may have you go all the way around, right? So you take the shortcut. What does the GPS do? It starts thinking. Okay? That's the same thing God does. It starts thinking and then it lays out the path the way you go, right? Okay, I think we've all been there, right? On the GPS, okay? That's the way God works. The universe works, source works, Jesus Christ works, Allah works. When you form the center point and you say, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to accomplish. This is my goal. And you hold that center point firm, God says, okay, and he lays out the path for you. And then you go, after you think about it for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, and you go, nothing's moving. Oh, nothing's happening yet. Because you can't see what's happening in the background, because you can't see what's happening in the universe with God, however you want to say it. Okay? But you can't see it yet. It's happening. And you go, I don't think so. I think I'm going to do this over here. I think I'm going to do this version of it. And what does God do? God goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, hold on. And it starts spinning. Okay? This is just a visual. Okay? But you know the visual. It starts thinking. And then it lays out the path that way. And then it goes, okay, here you go. So it doesn't matter which way you go, does it? Why? Because God lives in here. Because all you have to do is have the belief in your subconscious. The how is God's job. The how is always God's job. You can't figure out how. But you know what? This is why they say focus on the journey. Because when you focus on the journey, right? You know, I always use the XYZ company as a model, as a scenario. Okay? So let's use XYZ company. So you want to work at XYZ company. And maybe that's the target. So you go, I really want to work at XYZ company. That's your desire. I really want to work at XYZ company. So you do your affirmations. Where's the pen? Here we go. All right. My pen kind of slipped on the side over here. Okay. I am so happy and grateful now that I work at XYZ company. Thank you. Now you say your prayers. Okay. Please, God, I want to work at XYZ company. Please. However you pray. I'm not here to tell you how to pray. I'm not here to tell you to pray. Okay? But say you do these things, and then you speak it out loud. You speak your affirmation out loud. Now you're speaking things into your subconscious. The superconscious, which represents God, God is in this, under this label, this category. Now that it's a belief in your subconscious that you really do want to work at XYZ company, okay, that's your center point. God goes, okay, XYZ company, got it. Okay, the GPS, boom, maps out the plan. 2 weeks later, you're still doing your affirmations every day. You're still speaking it out loud every day. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. And you're at the gym. And you meet somebody. Could be a guy, could be a girl. And you start talking. Maybe it's about diet, maybe it's about workout, maybe it's about healthy stuff. And pretty soon, the inevitable question, right? So what do you do? Oh, I'm in marketing. Oh, where do you work at? XYZ company. Coincidence? Right? We always look at these things as coincidence. If you believe in God, if you believe that God lives in here, if you believe in the kingdom within, then you have to believe it's God's work. And then you say, wow, I always wanted to work at XYZ company. And they go, well, we have openings. Go see HR, go apply. And about a week after you apply, you get the interview, and guess what? Now you're working at XYZ company. And that's how it works. It's not magic. It doesn't show up in your, driveway, or you don't get a call from XYZ company going, hey, come down and work, we have openings. No. You have to take the steps. Okay, but first you take the steps here. First, you take the steps here. This is why they say the pen is mightier than the sword. Okay? Do you know how many executives do this? Affirmations. Okay. They also do journaling. Here's my warning about journaling. If you're journaling about things that happened that are negative, this drama happened yesterday, you're writing about that drama, it's going into your subconscious. Now, you may just write it once and forget about it. But if you consider it, if you think about it, if you bring it from yesterday into today, and then today into tomorrow, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, and tomorrow into the next day, it becomes a part of your subconscious, and now it's on autopilot. It keeps repeating. Then what? Then this scenario, whatever it is, will reoccur. Because this is how human beings are designed. So anyway, that's how God works in that sense. Or let's say the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. The superconscious is that label where you can insert your belief system. So some people say source, some people say, God, some people say universe, some people say unseen. There's many labels for the same thing. Okay, this is not anything that has to do with morals, okay? This has to do with this one. You can apply it to anything. If you apply this technology to something bad or evil, you'll be really good at bad and evil. If you apply it to good, you'll be really good at being good or moralistic or what have you. I'm not here to say be a good person. I made a comment on my social media the other week, and somebody said, well, you really go against everything that life coaching is. And I'm like, really? I'm not here telling people to be good. I'm not here telling people to be bad. I'm showing you how to live your dreams. I'm showing you how to get better results, or good results, or bad results, depending on how you use it. Electricity can be used to cook your food, or it can be used for an electric chair. It depends on how you use it. So you need to be aware. So awareness is important. When you get rid of stress, when you get rid of anxiety, when you get rid of guilt, shame, all of those negative emotions, what happens? Awareness increases automatically. Okay, this is why business people go on retreats. Okay, because when they're under stress and pressure and negative emotions, okay, awareness does this. All the negative emotions are rooted in fear. When fear is removed, awareness begins to expand. Okay, I've been getting rid of fear, guilt, shame, all negative emotions through people's voices for 37 years. It works like a charm. I have this one young lady right now who was former military, and she has military scars emotional military scars, trauma. I've worked with many, many military people with PTSD, and we get it down to a very controllable level. And yesterday, she comes every Thursday morning. Yesterday she came. You should see the vibe in her eyes, okay? So the eyes are the mirrors of the soul. The voice is the mirror of the feelings and emotions. If this is all new to you, if this sounds like woo-woo, if it sounds like whatever, okay, take notes. Take notes. Do your research. When a person is, or human being, when a human being is frustrated, okay, when a human being is fearful, when a human being has low self-esteem, low self-confidence, you can see it here. When they're angry, you can see it here. Okay. When they cannot make eye contact, you see it here. What happens when you get all this negative emotion out? This gets very warm and relaxed and open. How can someone release the bad energy if not journaling? Your voice. That's what I'm just talking about now. Did you come in? What's your name, by the way? Put your name up. You just have a dot by your profile. You should be confident. Put your name up there. Be proud. Okay, so the voice is another indicator, okay? You know, people with tight voices, you know, people that talk, they kind of got like tight voices like this. If a human being is stressed on the outside, they're stressed all the way through. And their interior muscles are stressed. Therefore, they have tight voices. They don't release enough air. Okay? You know, people that talk breathy with a lot of air. Okay? We know some political people like that. Okay? They talk with a lot of air. They're very confident. They're not holding things back. And then when we hear people use very little air when they speak like this, they're withholding. They're withholding. So if a person is withholding their voice, guess what else they're withholding? Information, feelings. Okay, you can tell a lot about a person by their voice. The voice is the mirror of the feelings and emotions. What happens when they start to relax inside? They let out air. Okay? This is an emotional response. They let out more air when they speak. So what happens with fear is fear works all the way through the body. And I'm talking about constant fear. Okay, fear is normal. It's a normal response. We have it for a reason. It's to alarm us if something is wrong. But constant fear, anxiety, worry. Okay, worrying is like, praying for something bad to happen. Worry is like, please, please, please something go wrong, right? Whatever it is. So we say that you are on that vibration. The vibration of worry, the vibration of fear, the vibration, okay? Or on the other side, the vibration of openness, the vibration of happiness, the vibration of exuberance. Okay? Love, peace, gratitude, joy, excitement, enthusiasm, those are all the positive emotions. When you belong to those emotions, guess what happens? Good stuff. Okay. Hey, Patrick. Good stuff. What happens when you are preoccupied with worry, irritation, disappointment, criticism, guilt, shame, fear. What do you think you attract? You attract more conditions to bring those things into your world. And this is why things repeat like that in your life, because it becomes a belief in your subconscious, and then the subconscious is just autopilot. It's just autopilot after that. It keeps repeating, okay, because it looks for confirmation. So if fear is the topic in your subconscious, it will look for examples of fear. You know, it'll be like, oh, look, there's something to be afraid of over there. There's another thing to be afraid of over here. Your reticular activating system in your brainstem, right, filters out what you're not focused on. So if you're focused on fear, guess what it does? It goes, hey, look, there's something to be afraid of. There's something to be afraid of. Hey, there's another situation over there to be afraid of. And what happens when you do it online? Well, you're scrolling online, right? Oh, boy, that's the last thing I want to happen, right? Fear. Now you're worried, right? Now what happens? Oh, there's a tsunami on the way, or there's a hurricane on the way, or whatever. Okay, scroll, scroll, scroll. How does it come from here into your physical world? Well, first it starts here, then the algorithm picks it up, right? Now the algorithm is showing you things over and over, the same things over and over. Variations on a theme. Why? Because that's the way the algorithm is designed. So now you're in a fear loop. You're in a fear loop. That's just an example, okay? You're in a fear loop in here, on here. How does it translate into the real world? Well, you have a reticular activating system in your brainstem. What does it do? It filters out what you're not focused on. It focuses on what you're focused on. Now it spills over to the real world. And you're like, wow, you know, I've been depressed for a while. I've been fearful for a while. You know, I had no idea, but, you know, I keep seeing fights all over the place. I keep seeing whatever, this, that, the other thing, all over the place. Drama. And then what happens? Well, now my reticular activating system is looking for drama to show me. Thank you, Ivana. Thank you. Okay? And this is the same thing as the red Corvette convertible syndrome phenomena. It's not phenomenon. It's your reticular activating system and your subconscious. You start getting interested in a red Corvette convertible, right? Try it. Try it with any car. Do it as an experiment. It happened to me. It still happens to me with other things, but I'm aware of it. So when it starts happening, I notice it. And then I switch. I switch focus. This is what I'm here to show you. I'm here to show you how to adjust your focus. Okay? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. So you can bring anything into your world. Or you can leave things out of your world. I can't even tell you how many people I've left out of my world on purpose. But it's a technique. You don't have to kick people out of your world. You don't have to push them out of your world. You can gracefully accept the fact that they do not exist anymore. It's that simple. But with the red Corvette convertible, okay? So you look at it online, wow, this is a really cool convertible. Okay, pretty soon you go, hey, I didn't know there were so many in town. In my town, there's tons of them, right? Okay, they were always there. Your reticular activating system is going, hey, look, see, one more over here. Hey, one more over there. Look over there. Oh, see, there's another one over there. Okay, that's the way it works. So if you're on here with drama, okay, it goes into your reticular activating system and your subconscious. Your subconscious learns a repetition. What are you doing? Oh, you're on the algorithm. The algorithm is giving you repetition. It's repeating. Why? Because it's an algorithm. It thinks that's what you like. So it's giving you more of that. Okay, but your mood is going down. Your mood is, you know? Okay, take a break from social media. You put it down, and then you start seeing it in the real world. But you don't put it together because you don't know about the reticular activating system in the subconscious, or you may not know. But now you know. And that's how it gets transferred from the digital world into the physical world. And then you go to the therapist and you go, wow, I've been having this problem, and then you discuss it more in depth. It goes back into your RAS, it goes back into your subconscious, and then what? It perpetuates itself, and now you're in a cycle over and over and over. Can you change it? Yeah. Is it difficult? No. But it needs to be done in repetition. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Start writing. I am so happy and grateful now that I am confident. Thank you. Why confidence? Because confidence is a relaxed inner feeling. Inner confidence is very different. It's not like sports. It's not like building your muscles and being a gladiator on a football field. It's not that. Okay. It's not being the weightlifter with, Mr. Universe body. It's not that. Because those guys, you ever see those guys with the 4'11" Asian girlfriend that has complete control of that guy? That can press every button he has and make him crazy. Okay. That's not inner strength. Okay. But when you develop inner strength, which is basically, we can say it another way, when you clear this one of the negativity, negative emotions, okay, how do you do that? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It takes less than 15 minutes a day. You have to meditate, you have to be still for at least 10 minutes a day. I do 30 minutes a day. I do half an hour a day. I was doing an hour and a half for a while. Now I've switched to half hour. Sometimes I do an hour. Sometimes I do an hour and a half. If I'm working on a big project, if I'm working with clients that I really need answers for, I have to meditate. Why? Because I have to get the answers from God or the superconscious. Now, if you don't believe in God, then there's only the conscious and subconscious. If you believe in God, then we'll call the superconscious a thing. But when you have the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious working in alignment with each other, everything comes together. And all it takes is a little patience. Because, right, we have been conditioned to believe or conditioned to feel that we have to do this, we have to do that. We're obligated to do this, we're obligated to do that. You know what I tell my clients? Slow down. Slow down. Rhonda Byrne says, when you're rushing, you're not being grateful. Slow down. It's okay to make them wait. Now, I don't mean hang up a meeting for 10 minutes. I don't mean that. What I mean is when you put pressure on yourself to rush, when you put pressure on yourself to hurry, number one, you're not going to be as efficient. Right off, straight up. Number two, you're not going to get intuitive instruction because you will be too preoccupied with the physical instead of the spiritual. How does that work? Well, when you focus on the physical labels, this is that, that is that, that is that, whatever, like that. Whatever you engage with, you join energetically. Okay, energetically. Argument, sure. Get in an argument. Now you've joined energetically with that person that you're arguing with. Texting back and forth, okay. You are engaged with that person you are texting with. It's that same scenario that I use with the tennis match. This person hits the ball into that court. That person just stands there. The ball scores a point, goes out of the court. This person scored a point. Who controls the game? The majority of people, the majority of my clients, when I first get them, they say, oh, the guy who scored the point, he controls the game. No, not at all. He scored a point. This person who did not react controls the game because now there is no game. This is what Jesus was talking about when he said, turn the other cheek. Okay? Because when you fight, you lose. Whatever you resist persists. Whatever you fight against, okay, through your subconscious. You see? So he just stood there. He controlled the game. Okay? Gandhi knew this when Gandhi just sat down. And he brought the entire government like this to his center point. Because he knew how to establish the center point, number one, and how to hold it. And his timeline came like this after a while. And he went on a hunger strike. Okay? Did he win? Of course he won. Because he knew. You don't control something by forcing it. You don't control something by instructing it or demanding of it. That's not what control is. That's not what power is. If you use power, you lose power. Power is only good when you retain it. What do we call it when somebody loses their temper? They yell. They explode. We say, oh, Bob lost it. Jimmy lost it. Right? Sarah lost it. She lost it the other day. Because when you do that, right, you throw your energy out. Then what happens? You shake. Why? Because you lost it. What did you lose? Your spirit. You threw it out there like that. Now what? Now you have to wait. Why? Because you used your power. So you lost your power temporarily. That's why you're like this. Then you have to wait, and pretty soon you settle down, and pretty soon you're like, then you collect yourself. Okay, now you've got your power back. Now you've got your spirit back. If you have to get to the point where you lose it, you're not in control. How do you get in control? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It works like a charm. So all you have to do to get all of this in its entirety is just search my name in any browser, any AI, anything, and just put teaching method at the end of my name, and you get everything for free. And all you have to do is follow the procedure. Okay? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It takes less than 15 minutes a day, and you can turn your whole life around, and you can live your dreams. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Ivana. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're here every day at 7 a.m. Hawaii time. I'm not selling anything. I don't have a course to sell you. I don't have products to sell you and neat merch and all like that. Okay, this is for you guys. I'm here for you. That's the name of my company. It's Here For You Life Coaching. It's in Honolulu, Hawaii. That's where I'm coming from. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Again, we've been doing this since April. Hey, Sarah, there you are, Sarah. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for coming. So we shall see you guys. We're on 7 platforms every morning, 7 a.m., 7 at 7. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.